on to the next type of asexual method of reproduction, that is nothing but the spore formation. So next method is nothing but the spore formation. Previous we discussed two methods, that is nothing but fission and budding. Now the next method is nothing but the spore formation. The third method of asexual reproduction is nothing but the spore formation. So in some of the plants and animals, we can see the formation of the spores by which they are going to reproduce asexually. So spores are nothing but, these are the microscopic unicellular motile or non-motile structures which are able to reproduce the individual independently. So those spores formation is nothing but the spore, which of the one of the type of an asexual reproduction. So spores are nothing but, these are unicellular microscopic motile or non-motile units which are able to produce new individual independently. So spores are nothing but, these are the unicellular microscopic motile or non-motile units or structures which are able to produce independently the new one, that is the offspring, or we can say young one. So now next one is nothing but, so spore formation have the formation of spores, as you know. So different types of spores are produced in case of an asexual method of reproduction. Out of that, the first one is nothing but the zoospores. The first one is nothing but the zoospores. So these are the spores which are usually produced in case of algae and fungi. These are usually produced in algae and fungi. And these zoospores, they are motile due to the presence of a flagella or a cilia. So zoospores are motile. These are motile due to presence of flagella or cilia. So these zoospores are going to move freely in water with the help of the flagella. These spores move freely in water with the help of flagella. With the help of flagella. That means we can say that here, for the locomotion, or we can say for the dispersal of the zoospores, the water is going to act as a medium. Water helpful in the movement, or we can say water helpful in the dispersal of these particular zoospores. So when comes to the example of these zoospores, so when comes to the example, we can take an example of Chlamydomonas, which comes under the category algae, and another example which we can take for an fungi, that is nothing but the albigo. which comes under the category fungi. So these are the some of the examples for the zoospores. So here these zoospores, as they are motile, they can move with the help of water and by their locomotor structure called flagella, and they can disperse from one place to the another place. Okay, when it comes to the Chlamydomonas, as you know, this is a microscopic unicellular organism which have a structure like this, and it have an two flagella. So with the help of this flagella, these Chlamydomonas is going to be moved and it is going to disperse. So this particular unit or this particular structure, that is Chlamydomonas, which is going to produce zoospore, is able to produce the new individual. And when it comes to the albugo, it is in case of a plant only, and this particular albugo is a white, that means it is a particular fungus which is going to create a white colored patch over the plant. If you observe the under surface of the, that means the below surface of the leaf, in some of the plants, there we can see white colored patches. Those white colored patches is due to the deposition or due to the presence of this particular fungus, that is nothing but an albugo. And this one is also going to reproduce asexually by the method of formation of a zoospores. Okay, let us move on to the next type of spore, that is nothing but the conidia. So next type is nothing but the conidia. So conidia, these are the spores which are usually produced in fungus. These are produced in fungus. These are produced in the fungus, and these spores are non-motile due to the absence of any motile structure, that means the any locomotory structures. So these are, that means conidia are non-motile spores. These are also unicellular and microscopic. These are also unicellular and microscopic. These particular structures, or we can say these particular spores, that is conidias, as they are non-motile, that means as they lack the locomotory structures, they need some agent to disperse. So here, in case of this conidia, wind is considered as an agent of disperse. So that's why these particular spores disperse with the help of wind. So when it comes to the example for the organisms which are going to produce these particular conidia are nothing but Aspergillus, and another example we can take, that is Penicillium. Aspergillus and Penicillium. So these are the some of the organisms which are going to produce a spore, that is nothing but conidia. So especially when we observe the Penicillium, so if we observe the structure of a Penicillium, if it is having a structure like this, it have number of conidiophores like this. So above conidiophores we can see the chain of spores which are formed. Those spores are nothing but the conidia. So here this one is a structure of an Penicillium. In which you can see the formation of an conidia over the conidiophores. So these are nothing but conidiophores. Over which we can see the formation of conidias. So these are the conidias, that means spores, non-motile spores, which are produced by the penicillium. Okay. Next one is, that means the another type of the spore is nothing but the aplanospores. The third type of spore, that is C, is nothing but aplanospores. Third type of spore is nothing but the aplanospores. And these spores, they are produced by the algae in case of an unfavorable conditions. So, in case of unfavorable condition, some algae produce aplanospores. Aplanospores. These spores are unicellular. These are unicellular, uninucleate, and non-motile spores. Non-motile spores. So, these aplanospores which are produced in the algae in case of unfavorable condition, these are the unicellular structures and they are uninucleate and they are non-motile spores. So, when it comes to the example, we can take an example of mainly two algae, that is nothing but Spirogyra and Urothrax. So, Spirogyra, as you know, this one is one filamentous algae. It is an filamentous algae in which you can see the zigzag mannerly arranged chloroplast filament. So, this is one of a blue-green algae, that is Spirogyra. So, in which we can see the formation of the aplanospores in case of unfavorable condition. Usually this Spirogyra is going to be reproduced, or we can say it is going to attain an asexual method of reproduction in favorable case by the one of the method, that is nothing but by the fragmentation. So, usually this one, when it is going to attain an unfavorable condition, then it is going to attain this particular spore formation. That means it is going to produce the aplanospores, and these spores are non-motile. They are going to be dispersed with the help of an water only in this particular condition. So, this much is there about the aplanospores. Next. Let us move on to the fourth type of spore, that is nothing but chlamydospores. The fourth type of spore is nothing but chlamydospores. So, these are the spores which are produced in the rhizopus during unfavorable condition. So, these are the spores which are produced by rhizopus during unfavorable condition. During unfavorable condition. And one more point we have to notice here, that these chlamydospores, they are the thick-walled spores. These are thick-walled spores. And in these particular condition, that means the chlamydospores, they are going to disperse with the help of an wind. So, as we seen aplanospores, those aplanospores are thin-walled spores, but when it comes to the chlamydospores, these are thick-walled spores, and these spores, they are going to disperse with the help of an wind. So this one is, that means the chlamydospores we can see in case of an rhizopus. Rhizopus are going to produce the chlamydospores during the unfavorable condition. I think you people remember, because you people already learnt about the rhizopus in your first year syllabus. So rhizopus have a filamentous structure like this. It have a filamentous structure like this. At the tip of the filaments we can see a sporangium. So sporangium we can see, and these sporangium, they are going to produce spores. These spores are called as chlamydospores. Chlamydospores, and this rhizopus belongs to the category fungus. It belongs to the fungus. It belongs to the category fungus. So this much is there about the chlamydospores. So next one comes to the another important point, that is nothing but, so some of the plants like gymnosperms and angiosperms, some of the plants like, that means higher plants like gymnosperms and angiosperms produce different kinds of spores. They are going to produce different kinds of spores. That's why these particular plants are called heteroporous. These are called heteroporous. Heterosporous. And when it comes to the bryophytes and pteridophytes, bryophytes and pteridophytes, these produce a similar kinds of spores. So that's why these are called as an homosporous. That means as these gymnosperms and angiosperms, and in case of some of the pteridophytes also, we can see the formation of two types of spores. So like microspores and megaspores, like that two types of spores we can see. So that's why those plants or those category of plants are considered as an heterosporous plants. And when it comes to the bryophytes and then pteridophytes, these particular what we can say category of plants, they are going to produce only one kind of spores. So that's why these type of plants are considered as an homosporous plants. Okay, let us move on to the fourth type of asexual method of reproduction, that is nothing but fragmentation and regeneration. The fourth method of asexual reproduction is nothing but the fragmentation and regeneration. In some of the books they given only the fragmentation, that is also correct only, no problem. So the fourth method is nothing but the fragmentation and regeneration. So in this method of the asexual reproduction, the parent body is going to divide into many fragments, and each fragment is able to produce a new individual. That is the special thing in this one. So that means in fragmentation, the parent body divides into many fragments, and each fragment is able to produce a new individual. It is able to produce a new individual. So this particular process is very special, because in this process we can see any fragment of a body, that means parent body, is able to produce a new individual organism. That is the special thing in this one. So when it comes to this particular fragmentation, so here we can observe in case of some of the algae like Spirogyra, so where we can see the fragment. For example, if this one is an algae, filamentous algae, if this algae is going to cut into many fragments like this, then each fragment is going to develop into new individual. It is going to develop into new individual. So when comes to the another example in case of an animal, so this one is an example for an plant, that is the Spirogyra. Example is nothing but, example in case of an plant, that is algae, it is nothing but the Spirogyra. And when comes to the another example in case of an animal, that is nothing but the Planaria. Planaria in case of an animal. So Planaria is one of the organism which have a body shape like this. I think you people already learnt in your first year syllabus so about this Planaria. So if this one is an Planaria, if we cut this Planaria into many segment or many pieces, then each part of this body is going to able to produce a new individual, whole new individual. So that is the main special character of this Planaria, which is going to comes under a method of reproduction, that means asexual method of reproduction. But this one is what we can say, not be considered as a natural method of asexual method of reproduction, because this method is not naturally seen, but this one is seen accidentally or by artificially only. That means if we cut artificially or accidentally this particular Planaria, then only it is going to reproduce by the method of this asexual method, that is nothing but the fragmentation method. So that's why there is a controversy to decide whether it is an asexual method of reproduction or what we can natural or what, so it's a little bit confusing. So but when it comes to this particular organism, this one is when it is going to cut into many fragments or many pieces, each piece or each fragment of its body is going to able to produce a new individual. And this particular process, that means the process of formation of an whole new individual by a fragment is nothing but, that particular term given for that process is nothing but morphollaxis. That is nothing but morphollaxis. That means morphollaxis is nothing but, it is a process of production of whole individual by a fragment of a parent body. And we can see one more method of regeneration, that is nothing but one more method of growth in case of some of the animals like lizard, so which is nothing but epimorphosis, in which we can see the growth or regrowth of a particular lost part of the body. That means if a lizard lost its tail by accidentally, then it is going to be regenerated or it is going to be regrow. So the process is nothing but the epimorphosis. That process is called as an epimorphosis. So epimorphosis is nothing but regrowth of lost part of a organism body. For this we can take an example of lizard, tail of a lizard, tail of lizard. But here one thing we have to mention, that is nothing but either the morphollaxis or the epimorphosis, both are the process which comes in the particular comes under the process called regeneration. That means these both are going to regenerate. So regeneration. So that's why this particular morpholaxis or a epimorphosis both will come under a process called as an regeneration. So in this way we can say that by the process of an fragmentation and regeneration, also the asexual method of reproduction we can see in case of both plants and animals. Okay, let us move on to the asexual method of reproduction in case of an higher plants. So asexual method of reproduction in case of an higher plants is going to be occur by the two methods. That is nothing but the first one is nothing but apomixis and the second one is nothing but the vegetative propagation. So let us first know about the apomixis. So apomixis is one of the asexual method of reproduction seen in higher plants by the means of, particularly it is going to be considered as one of the type, and it is going to be occur by the means of one of the method, that is nothing but agamospermy. So it is going to be occur by the method of agamospermy. Agamospermy. So let us know what is agamospermy. Agamospermy is nothing but the formation of embryo without the fertilization of an ovule. The formation of embryo without the fertilization of an ovule. So here one thing you have to consider, or we have to mention that it is the process in which the unfertilized ovule is going to convert into an embryo. So when it comes to the agamospermy, we can see the three subtypes of agamospermy. So in that one, the first one, first type is nothing but the adventive polyembryony. Adventive polyembryony. So adventive polyembryony. In this method, we can see the formation of embryo with the diploid nucellus or an integument. Formation of embryo by the diploid nucellus or integument. So integument is nothing but the protective covering of a particular ovule. So it may be, in case of some of the plants it may be single, or in case some of the plants it is maybe two layered. So integument is going to give a protection for the ovule. It is a protective layer of an ovule. So in the adventive polyembryony, we can see the formation of an embryo by the diploid tissue, but that is nothing but which is present in the case of nucellus of a ovule or in case of an integument of ovule, and this diploid tissue directly converts into an embryo. So this process is nothing but an adventive polyembryony, and we can take an example of citrus plant for this one. Citrus plants. And the second type of the agamospermy is nothing but recurrent agamospermy. Recurrent agamospermy. When it comes to the recurrent agamospermy, here also we can see the formation of embryo, by diploid MMC, that is nothing but mother cell, megaspore mother cell. So megaspore mother cell is going to convert into embryo. So that process is considered as an recurrent megaspore, that is recurrent agamospermy. And the example is nothing but apple we can take. Apple we can take. So here the third type of the agamospermy is nothing but the non-recurrent agamospermy. Non-recurrent agamospermy. In case of non-recurrent agamospermy, embryo is formed by the haploid egg. It is going to be formed by embryo is formed by the haploid egg. So when comes to the example, we can take an example of Datura plant. We can take for the example for this particular non-recurrent agamospermy. And this non-recurrent agamospermy is also called as the process of parthenogenesis. It is also called as an parthenogenesis. And we can see that the fruits which are formed by the process of an parthenogenesis, they does not contain a seed. So here we can mention that the process by which, or we can say the embryos which are formed by the non-recurrent agamospermy, they are not going to able to produce the seeds. But these two methods, that means adventitious polyembryony or we can say recurrent agamospermy methods, they are able to produce the seeds. So in this way, we can see the one of the type of asexual reproduction in case of an higher plant. Let us next method, that is let us go for next method, that is nothing but vegetative propagation. Let us move on to the another type of asexual reproduction in case of higher plants, that is nothing but the vegetative propagation. So let us know what is vegetative propagation. So here in case of vegetative propagation, we can see the formation of a new organism or we can say new individual by the vegetative part of a plant body. So that's why this one is considered as a vegetative propagation. So here for example, if we define the vegetative propagation, we can say that it is a method of asexual reproduction, in which any part like stem, root, leaf or bud gives rise to new individual, then it is considered as a vegetative propagation. So here the structures which are able to produce the new individual in case of a vegetative reproduction, those structures are called as a vegetative propagules. Those are called as a vegetative propagules. Vegetative propagules. So vegetative propagules are nothing but these are the structures or parts of a plant body which are able to give rise to new plant. So those are nothing but the vegetative propagules. For example, when we take some of the structures, for example, if we take a leaf, in a leaf we can see the vegetative propagules. In case of bryophyllum, that is nothing but one of the foliage birds. Foliage birds. So foliage birds in a bryophyllum leaf, they are considered as vegetative propagules. So in this way, we can say that the structures, or we can say the parts of a plant body which are able to give rise to a new plant, they are considered as vegetative propagules. So now let us know one by one the different types of the vegetative propagation, and which are going to produce the different kinds of the vegetative propagules by which the new plants are going to be produced. First, let us see in case of an stem. In case of an stem. So stem is going to produce different kinds of stem. That means plants are going to produce different kinds of stem, and the stem itself is going to involve in the formation of a new plant. So that's why stem is also considered as one of the vegetative structure which is going to produce a new plant. So here, when it comes to the stem, first type of the stem which comes under this particular vegetative reproduction is nothing but the runner. Runner. These runner we can see, or we can take an example of a grass which is considered as a doob grass. One of the grass, that is nothing but doob grass, which is also called as that means which is scientifically called as an cynodon. Cynodon. It is one of the type of a grass which is going to reproduce asexually by the method of an particular vegetative propagation. So runners, when we take this particular structure, we can see the structure like this. This one, if we consider this one is a stem, this stem have an nodes, and at the region of a nodes we can see the formation or the growth of an roots, and also stem which contain a leaf. Stem which contain a leaf. So like this we can see, but when it comes to the runner, here the stem is going to run parallelly to the land, or we can say soil surface. So this one is particularly, we can see in case of an doob grass, or which scientific name of doob grass is nothing but cynodon. So next one is nothing but the second type of stem, that is nothing but offset. So when it comes to the offset, we can take an example of Eichhornia. Eichhornia is also called as an water hyacinth. Water hyacinth, which is popularly known as the terror of Bengal, because this one is a plant which brought for our country for the purpose of an ornamentation, but this one is now converted into a aquatic weed which is going to destroying a number or many aquatic bodies nowadays. So that's why this one is considered as a terror of Bengal, and nowadays this plant is considered as one of the aquatic weed. So here, in case of an offset, we can see the stem like this. This particular offset plant have a swollen stem. Swollen stem, that means the stem is little bit swollen, and which is also have a node and internode, but the length of an internode is very less when compared to the runners, and we can see the cluster of roots and leaves at each nodal region. So each node contain a cluster of leaves, that means bunch of leaves we can see here, and also the roots are also, they are also in the cluster only. So this particular structure, that means the offset stem which is going to have an parenchyma tissue in it, that's why this particular stem is also going to helpful in a floating of this aquatic plant. And as this contain a smaller internode, this particular that means offset is going to break down, or as this one contains smoother tissue, it may be degenerate, and the degenerated stem is going to release the one of the new plant into the water, and this new plant is going to float into the water and it is going to be propagated in another place and it is going to be grown in another place. In this way, this particular half set is going to be easily propagated in water. So next one is the third, that is nothing but tuber. Tuber. The third one is nothing but tuber. When it comes to the tuber, we can take an example of an potato. We can take example of potato, and when we see the potato, it's an underground stem and it have a scars over it, and those scars are nothing but the eye buds. Eye buds. And these are the structures which are considered as a nodal regions in which the new plant is going to arise. So that's why when we cut this particular eye buds, or we can say scar region, and when we sow it in a soil, then it is going to give rise to a new plant. So that's that means this particular eye buds, they are nothing but the nodal regions of the particular potato. Entire potato is considered as a stem, and these particular scars, or we can say eye buds, which are present over the particular potato, they are nothing but the nodal regions by which we can see the origin of a new plant. So that's why if we cut a particular nodal region in a potato and then we sow it in a soil, then it is going to give rise to a new potato. Okay, let us move on to the next type of stem which helpful in the vegetative propagation. The fourth type of stem is nothing but the rhizome. So example for rhizome is nothing but the ginger. Example we can take, that is ginger. When we observe the structure, or we can say when we observe the ginger, we can see the structure like this, and we can see the lines over this particular ginger. So these regions are called nodes, and these have a scaly leaves over those particular nodes. By these two identifying structures, we can say that the rhizome is also an underground stem. So it is also one of the underground stem. Rhizome is also one of the underground stem. So when it comes to this particular rhizome or ginger, as you know, if we cut a particular part of a ginger, if we sow it in a particular soil, then it is going to grow into a new plant. So that's why this is also one of the vegetative propagule, or we can say one of the vegetative propagation method. So next, fifth one is nothing but the bulb. The fifth type of stem is nothing but bulb. Example for bulb is nothing but onion or garlic also we can take. Garlic also we can take as an example. So when it comes to the structure of an onion, if we observe, we can see the bulb like this. We can see a bulb like this, and at the bottom of the bulb we can see a discoid stem. The stem is in the shape of disc. So that's why it is considered the discoid stem. So this particular stem, if we enlarge and see, this is going to show a nodal regions like this. If we cut that particular stem and if we observe, we can see the small nodes over that particular, what we can say, stem, which is a disc stem, or we can say which is condensed stem, over which we can see the formation of a new plants. So that's why this particular bulb is also considered as one of the vegetative propagule, or we can say propagation method. So here in case of an garlic also we can see the both the type of an modification, or we can say both the type of the particular propagation, that is nothing but at the condensed stem we can see the nodes, and by the nodes we can see the formation of the leaves. So these particular individual leaves, if we separate those individual leaves and if we sow it in a soil, then it is also going to give rise to a new plant. So that's why onion and garlic are taken for the example of a bulb. So the sixth one is nothing but corm. Sixth one is nothing but corm, and the example for the corm is nothing but colocasia. Colocasia is an example for the corum, and this one is particularly grow in the region, that means usually it is going to grow in a bank of a river and all, and this particular what we can say plant Colocasia is going to produce a tubular like root structures, tubular like stem structures which are going to act as an propagating unit, so by which we can see the formation of a new plant. So next one is nothing but the seventh one, suckers. Suckers, when we take an example for suckers, we can take example of the chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum, we can take an example for the suckers. So when we observe the chrysanthemum plant, it having a stem region. Wait 1 minute. So if we see it's a stem, if we see the roots at the nodal region, and we can see the leaves at the, that means stem at the nodal region, but we can see the stem which is going to run on the surface of that particular soil. This one is underground stem, that means the node is present on the surface of the soil, but the complete internode is going to be present below the soil like this. So that means we can see the underground stem in case of an chrysanthemum like this. So this one is a stem in case of a chrysanthemum. So if we cut this one particularly in the particular middle of the internode, then we can separate and we can propagate that particular cut part of a plant, and we can grow the new plant in a separate, in a new region also. So the sucker, that is chrysanthemum, is also one of the vegetative structure. So next one is the last structure, that is last type of stem, that is nothing but in case of an strawberry, which is also considered as a stolon, which is considered as an stolon. Example for stolon is nothing but the strawberry. The eighth method or the next method of the stem is nothing but stolon, which is considered as an one of the stem which is present above the soil in the form, that means it is going to bend in the form of an bow. That means internode is going to bend in the form of an bow on the surface of the soil, and at the nodal region we can see the formation of the roots and the stem like this. And this one we can see in case of an jasmine also. In case of an jasmine also we can see this kind of stem, that is stolon. So these are the some of the types of stem which are going to act as a vegetative propagules and which are going to participate in a vegetative method of propagation in an higher plants. Okay, let us move on to the vegetative propagation or vegetative method of reproduction in case of an roots. So in the plant of higher plants we can see the root is also going to participate in the vegetative method of reproduction. So here in case of roots, the roots are going to participate in a vegetative method of reproduction. So first one is nothing but the root which are going to vegetatively propagate. If we take an example of the roots, then we can take an example of the plant, that is sweet potato. And also we can see the roots of sesame wood. Sesame wood. So roots of these particular plants, they are helpful in a vegetative method of propagation. So sweet potato, when we take a sweet potato, this particular root, which is nothing but a radical part or which is the structure which is formed by the radical, is going to produce a small outgrowths which are nothing but radical buds. If we separate these radical buds and if we sow it in a new soil, soil, then these are going to give rise to a particular new plants. So radical buds of the roots of sweet potato, they are able to produce the new plants. So that's why this one is, that means one of the example of a root by which we can see the method of an vegetative reproduction. Let us move on to the leaf. Leaf is also participate in a vegetative reproduction. So when it comes to the leaf, we can take an example of the bryophyllum. Bryophyllum, we can take an example. So when we take a structure of an biophyllum plant leaf, we can see the leaf structure like this, and at this particular incision regions we can see the formation of small foliage. Foliates are nothing but small baby plants which are grow at the region of the incision, in the margin of the leaves. So these are nothing but foliage buds. Foliage buds, that is nothing but leaf buds. Foliage is nothing but leaf. Foliage buds, that is nothing but leaf buds. So if we saw that if this particular leaf buds accidentally or after the what we can say dehiscence of this leaf, when they reach to the earth or when they reach to the soil, then these baby buds or baby foliage buds, they are going to grow into a new plant. So that's why these particular leaves, that means when we take an example of bryophyllum, these particular leaves are also participate in the formation of a new plant. So that's why these are also considered as one of the vegetative